Hey, so I know this week 3 has been a really big week. So on the Thursday night item, we return to kind of normal process. We have the lecture, hands-on, and current topics. So for the lecture, we're going to continue the crash course into part 2. Okay. So the thing I would say about this is like last week, I'm providing you instruction on how to complete it. Matter of fact, let's just go look at that instruction. Okay, so here's the instruction. I give you, where to pick up because this is where we ended up leaving off on the other one. And on the commits, I started using commits just with the time frame, but I ended up changing because I think it's a good point to now think about these commits that we're making actually generally indicate a concept. So I want you to, from here forward, when you do so when you get to this point, right? So read the instruction and I tell you before he deletes, and you'll see me do this every time before he deletes, I'll have you stop and I'll say get workflow. So just to remind you, that's the get status, get add, get commit. And what you can do is you don't have to do the last step, get push, until you're all the way to the end. Okay. You can if you want just to have the experience, but you don't have to because when you do that get push at the very end after you've finished everything, it will push all of the changes you've done broken down by these get commits that I've shown you. Okay. Or I've required, like, use this message and it'll show the code that you wrote. All right. So I just want to say that. And one thing on this first one, when you get there, is that he shows how to grab an SVG from a website for the YouTube one. And you can do it two ways. Let me just switch over to my editor just to show you when I played around with this one. He shows how you can just put image and then the SVG in there. You can also, and this is good for you to start seeing on a SVG, which is a vector scaled graphic. There's actually just a lot of this code. So the other thing you can do, and this is you could copy all that code and you could put it right in to the image right here. Okay, you could put it right in there. So, more than anything, what you want to know is that an image that is an SVG is different than a JPEG. An SVG is really just this, it's actually telling the computer how to draw something, and it's generally much more efficient file size wise because you can also scale them versus something that's what we call rasterized or pixelated, which is most graphics that we're still using on the web, although we're seeing more and more SVGs. So you can do it whichever way. I'm not going to tell you how to play with it, is what I would say. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. I talked about the get. Here's your commits, and then you pick up at this point. You watch to here. I give you a little information, like on this one, and then thereafter, it's pretty much you just code along. And before you delete, you do your commits. Okay, that's what you'll do for this work. Okay. And like before, right? And this will be the last time I'll show this. So I just want to get you used to this. You'll provide to this assignment submission wise the URL for your history. Okay, so let me show you this one though, because I think it's worth showing one more time. So here's your output, right? And you're going to have all the commits already, again, you've pushed at this point. And I know it might seem natural to give me this URL, but remember, you go over to history, and under here you will see all of those different commits. And now what's great here, and the reason I have you name it this way, is that if you ever wanted to go back and look at just that code, you could do that because of the way the commit messages are, which is really the point of what I'm trying to show you. So this URL is what you'll submit. Okay, so you'll have that item. And then for your next item, I want us to really learn some more command line. What we've been learning so far is really, right, the get workflow, right? So the get status, let me just clear since I was get status, right? Okay, I'm clear right now, but if I did, I'd get add star. I've talked about wildcard versus the file, right? So this get is a command on the command line that's available to us because I have Git installed. But what I want you to do is learn some other ones like PWD, LS. PWD is current directory, LS is list of files, make dir, right? So there's just many out there, and many of them are not necessarily Git related, although there are many of those. But I've given you two links here. One is to the MDN, and I had talked about this at one point. If I haven't, this is just one of those amazingly helpful once you learn more of this technology and commands. And if you come down through here reading this page I've given you, where does it come from? A little bit of history, the different way it looks. We've already covered some of this. Linux, Mac, Windows, boom, boom, boom. And as you come down further, you start to see some of the commands. Okay. Some we've seen, some I've talked about. Touch we haven't. That's a good one. Copy, move files. So here's what I'm going to say too is like on some of this stuff, right? I want you to check out, right, a couple. I think I end up saying pick at least 4 different commands. And this is why I've given 2 links, and there are a ton other ones on the web. But I would give you a heads up to just be a little cautious here, right? When you try, just caution. Like as an example, if I was to, and here's the other one for Code Academy. But as an example, if I was to move files and I did it from my root directory, I've removed files, right? I'd be very careful where I did that command from. So if you didn't want to do the command, you could research like how it works, right? You could also create a subdirectory where you would do just that work for that assignment. This not so much. These should be fine, especially cat should be fine. And then you can navigate through. You see a little more. Change directory talks about the period, talks about the tab that I've talked about. So it just is a little more information here on each one as well. So find the commands, look through here. And here's the really important thing is you all have to select something different. This is why I'm saying you can go beyond these two, but there are many other references out there. As a matter of fact, if you have a reference you'd like to give me, I'd love to know that as well. I think I'll change this to 3, because 4 seems like a lot. But what you want to do is in your reply, mention the ones you've tried and or researched, right? Like I said, and yes, I want you all to select different ones. Let us know what you've learned, right? Provide links to the commands. Like you could find a website that just talks about that one command that's not necessarily these sites, and our links to the research that you've done. So basically, we're learning and we're just sharing what we've learned. And then 150, no replies. Okay. So again, heads up, make sure they're unique. Make sure you don't do commands that would hurt anything on your system. Okay, last one for today, and boy, is it a active one and an important one. So here's, if you haven't heard of Chat GPT, you will. But in general, this concept of AI, artificial intelligence, and so much of what's going on, not just from this website or this what we call kind of a manifestation of artificial intelligence, but there are many others like GitHub Copilot is one. You see a lot on social media right now. People are taking pictures of themselves and they are being, it's not a filter that's applied, it's actually AI that's applied. So, what I want you to do is watch this video. It's fairly short. I think it's like, 7 minutes. And then I want you, right? Um, then give one of the sites mentioned, right? So, there, you don't have to do Chat GPT. You could do GitHub Copilot. I've been playing with that one. You could do any of those image sites, right? Just give it a try, right? And reply letting us know your experience of doing it, because this technology is going to affect everyone in every way. So I just want you to give, like I said, you could venture out if there's something else you've heard of that you wanted to just kind of play around with a little bit, do that as well. Right. So I'm leaving this fairly open ended for you to kind of figure out how you want to move through this. But in general, what you're looking for is that there are all these new AI based websites that allow you to, in this case, chat with an AI, what we call a model that is conversational. So there are many others. This has actually caught a lot of attention because in addition to conversational, it can also code. Code actually is also what GitHub Copilot. I have it installed here. Looks like they have a little bit of a problem this morning, but this is where you can actually, as you're coding, tell it to ask it to do things, and it will. So this is going to affect so much of what we're doing, and I want you to know about it. So go out there, find something you're interested in, give it a try, come back, tell us about what it was, give us links to what it was you found, and then your, impressions, and then reply with substantive replies for full points. Okay, I hope you have fun with this. Back to our normal programming. Have a good one.